Crap. Okay. Hello and welcome to This Date in History, also known as TDH. This show is all about the events that occurred today in years past, both recognized by actual historians, but mainly things that we personally find intriguing enough for us to bring to you. The sources of this information comes from the smart device application Today in History. What happened today in history?
Historical calendar.
And Muffin? What's your source? Oh, well, he's muted again. OnThisDay.com. For links to those sources, the music, and anything else we gather throughout the show, check the description. Anyway, I am A.O. Xander. He is Lunk, and Muffin is down over there. Today is Tears Day, also known as Tuesday, March 15th, 2022. Mr. Lunk?
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yes.
Alright, why don't you start us off at 474 BC?
Yes. 474 BC, Roman consul Annotus Manlius Furcio celebrates an ovation for concluding the war against Vili and securing the 40 years truce.
What is the 40 years truce? And an ovation is basically a round of applause. So,
I know.
yeah. Well, I'm saying that for the viewers, mainly. I know you know. I know you're smart.
Mine is the stand-in.
Huh. The 12 years
Who
truce...
knows,
Sorry?
Who knows, he might have had a stand-in ovation.
True. The 12 years truce was the cessation of hostilities between the Habsburg rulers of Spain and the southern Netherlands and the Dutch Republic as agreed in Antwerp on April 9, 1609, coinciding with the royal decree of expulsion of the Moriscos. Alright, I'm going to add this to the underbar. Right off the bat, we have an interesting subject. Moving on up to 44 BC, got muffin mouth. 44 BC, the assassination of Julius Caesar took place. He got stabbed by a knife. Many knives, multiple times. How many times did he get stabbed again? Like 47 or something crazy?
No.
Did Caesar get stabbed? Collectively, the group stabbed Caesar and reported 23 times, killing the Roman leader. The death of Julius Caesar ultimately had the opposite impact of what the assassins hoped. So, yep. Moving on up, Mr. Lunk.
493. Odoacer, the first barbarian king of Italy after the fall of the Western Roman Empire, is slain by Theodoric the Great of the King of Ostrogoths, while the two kings were feasting together.
Dang. Wow, so they were having a meal and then it's just like, okay, killing time. Hwah! Slit him. That's brutal. Jumping on up to 856, Michael III, Emperor of the Byzantine Empire, overthrew the regency of his mother, Empress Theodora, the wife of Theophilos, with support of the Byzantine nobility. Man. Talk about not behaving like a family.
Yeah. Also, 856, Michael III, Emperor of the Byzantine Empire, overthrows the regency of his mother, Empress Theodora, wife of Theophilus, with support of the Byzantine nobility.
Ah, sounds very familiar. Like I just read that. Jumping on up to 897, Al-Hadi Ila al-Haq Yahya entered Sada and found the Zayedi Inamate of Yemen. Dude, like, I just got a random thought. Like, if we ever do, become popular, people are probably going to go back and take some of these see sound bites of me, like, reading these names. Be like, oh no, Ao's having a stroke.
No, I think that's on me the most.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna be on the first round of merchandise. Like, I can't pronounce that. Moving up. Yeah, there we go. Um, Mr. Lunk, what happened in 933?
933, after a 10 years truce, German King Henry the Flower defeats an Hungarian army at the Battle of Riedi near the Onstrus River.
Oof.
I wanted to he flowered them. He flowered them.
Jumping on up to 1311, during the Battle of Halmiras, the Catalan company defeated Walter V, Count of Brienne, to take control of the Duchy of Athens, a Crusader state of Greece. I had no idea the Crusaders were in Greece. That's interesting. But that makes sense, you know, they have to... It's on the way to Jerusalem. So, like, as they said in Kingdom of Heaven, travel until they speak French, and then continue traveling until they speak something else. So, I guess that's Greek, you know, or Italian and then Greek and then Arabic. Jumping on up to 1564, Mughal Emperor Akbar, it's a trap, abolished the jizya tax on non-Muslim subjects. What is the jizya tax? So they were taxing non-Muslim people. Jizya, also spelled jizya, historically a tax. The term is often incorrectly translated as a head tax or poll tax, paid by non-Muslim populations to their Muslim rulers. Oh, well, that's not nice. Muslims taxing people just because they're not Muslim. Sounds like the actions of another type of religion.
Kind of sounds like a racist statement.
It's not racist if those people aren't
Yeah.
considered a race, you know. So anyway, what happened in 1672?
1672, King Charles II of England issues the Royal Declaration of Indulgence, granting limited religions to all Christians.
Yeah, limited religious freedoms. Are you doing okay, Mr. Lunk? You sound tired.
I'm cool.
Okay. Moving on up to 1783, in an emotional speech in Newborough, New York, George Washington asked his officers not to support the Newborough conspiracy. The plea was successful, and the threatened coup d'etat never took place. Whoa, I had no idea he was under that kind of threat. What is the Newborough conspiracy? There we go. The Newborough conspiracy was an apparent planned military coup by the Continental Army in March 1783 at the end of the American Revolutionary War. So, yeah, it looks like people were trying to coup d'etat before there was even something to coup d'etat about. Dang.
They're probably paranoid that he might become a tyrant.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you know, he could have been king, you know? Like, very easily. And just as easily, you know, there could have never been a United States. Like, they almost disbanded back into, you know, nation states, you know, like the colonies and everything. So, you want to tell us what happened in 1848?
1848, a revolution breaks out in Hungary, and the Habsburg rulers are compelled to meet the demands of the Reformed Party.
Revolution. Moving on up to 1874, France and Vietnam signed the Second Treaty of Saigon, further recognizing the full sovereignty of France over Cochinchina. Mr. Lunk?
Yeah. Where was that at?
What?
What year was that? Oh, never mind. 1875, Archbishop of New York, John McCloskey, is named the first cardinal in the United States.
That's pretty cool. Took about almost 100 years, probably like 80, 90 years. But hey. 2 years later in 1877, the first ever official cricket test match was played, Australia versus England at the MCG Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. Cool.
Yeah. Also, 1907, the first parliamentary elections of Finland. At the time, the Grand Duchy of Finland are held.
Nice. Elections are always good. Let's see here. 8 years later, in no 7 years, seven. I don't. 714. 9 years later, yeah, 9 years later in 1916. I can't do math. United States President Woodrow Wilson sent 4,800 United States troops over the U.S.-Mexico border to pursue Pancho Villa, one of which was George S. Patton.
Yes. Also, in 1917, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia advocates the Russian throne in the 304-year Romanov dynasty.
Dang. Yeah, that's the beginning of the Tsars. So, actually, not the beginning. I think that's the. Well. Oh, okay. So yeah. Okay, so that's when Lenin took over. That's right. 365 days later, in 1918, during the Finnish Civil War, the Battle of Tampere began.
Okay. 1929,
21.
Talat Pasha, or 1921, Talat Pasha, former Grand Vizier of the Ottoman Empire and chief architect of the Armenian genocide, is assassinated in Berlin by a 23-year-old Armenian, Sogomon Terliaren.
Good. Anyone who commits genocide needs to be genocided themselves. Moving on up to 1922, after Egypt gained nominal independence from the United Kingdom, Fahd I became king of Egypt. Nice. Independence. Independence.
Mm-hmm.
My spine. 4 years later, in 1926, the dictator Theodoros Pangalos was elected president of Greece without opposition. That's rare.
Well,
That also smells of corruption there. So.
no, because who wants to get down and dirty with the Greeks?
Other Greeks? I mean, they fought each other for a while. So.
Maybe he didn't want to have to do all the net filthy stuff to do so.
Yeah.
You know, strip down, oil up.
Tonight we dine in hell.
Yeah. 1927, the first women's boat race occurred in which the University of Oxford and the University of Cambridge competed on the Isis in Oxford. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's a river. The Isis in Oxford. Let me look that up real quick.
Yeah,
Isis?
Oxford is one.
It is a river. Okay. Moving on up to 1931, the SS Viking exploded off Newfoundland, causing the deaths of 27 and the injury of 27 of the 147 on board. Okay. So it doesn't tell us about injuries, but yeah, that's horrible.
Well, really horrible.
Yeah.
That's fun. Also, in 1933, Austrian Chancellor Engelbert Dollfuss keeps members of the National Council from convening starting the Austro-fascist dictatorship.
It sounds a lot like what's going on today in a lot of countries, especially the States as well. You know, keeping people from... I mean, that's how Stalin got to power, because he was able to direct who is able to go to meetings, what time. Like, he was a schedule guy, and he just, like... He manipulated the entire government around him, even though he was in a very low-level spot. It's really interesting how he took over. It really, really deceitful and underhanded and very Soviet. Jumping on up, 6 years later, 1939, Germany occupied Czechoslovakia during what I assume to be World War II.
Yeah.
Or actually, I think it's before World War II, because didn't World War II start in... Because it started in 39, I know that. But when
it started when I think they invaded Poland.
Yeah, that's September 1st, 1939. So this is before World War II. So prior to World War II. All right. So wow, I did not know that they took things before World War II. Whatever. What else happened in 1939? 1939. Carpathia, Ukraine, declared itself an independent republic, but was annexed by Hungary the next day. Oh no, that didn't last too long.
Also in 1941, Philippine Airlines entered service, making the airline the first and oldest commercial airline in Asia operating under its original name.
Cool. So what is that? 60 years plus 20, 81 years. That's pretty a good record. 2 years later, in 1943, during World War II, the Third Battle of Kharkov, the Germans retook the city of Kharkov from the Soviet armies in bitter street fighting.
Also in 1945, World War II, Soviet forces began an offensive to push Germans from Upper Silesia.
Where is Upper Silesia? Let me just look that up real quick. Where is Upper Silesia? Upper Silesia is the southeastern part of the historical and geographical region of Silesia, located mostly in Poland with small parts of the Czech Republic. Alright. So yeah, the Germans were losing to the Russians by then. 6 years later, in 1951, the Iranian oil industry was nationalized.
Nice.
I think.
Well, depends on them.
Yeah. What happened in 1952?
In Julius reunion, 1870
millimeters.
Okay, 1870 millimeters, 73 inches of rain. Oh, okay. When I think about millimeter, I'm thinking of a cannon, but nope. Okay, it's raining.
I was thinking that too.
24-hour period, setting a new world record from March 15th to March 16th. Oh,
dang. 73. I can't do the math. So 73 divided by 12. That's 6 feet. That's slightly over 6 feet. So that's more rain than I am tall by like an inch. So, geez.
Yes.
1961, at the 1961 Commonwealth Prime Ministers Conference, South Africa announced that it will withdraw from the Commonwealth when the South African Constitution of 1961 came into effect.
Okay.
What happened 4 years after that?
4 years later. You talking about that? Oh yeah.
1965.
President Lyndon B. 1965. President Lyndon B. Johnson responds to the Selma crisis, telling U.S. Congress we shall overcome while advocating the Voting Rights Act.
Well, let me check out the Selma crisis first. What was the Selma crisis? The protesters demanded protection for the Selma marchers and a new federal voting rights law to enable African American or black U.S. citizens to register and vote without harassment. Okay, well, and what did he do? We shall overcome. All right, and Voting Rights Act. Okay, so this is basically allowing black people to vote. Which 1965, yeah, that sounds about right. Jumping on up to 1974, 15 people were killed when Sterling Airways Flight 901, a Sud Aviation Carvel, caught fire following a landing gear collapse at Mehrabad International Airport in Tehran, Iran. What happened 4 years after that?
1986, collapse of a hotel New World.
No,
33
78.
people died.
78.
In 1978, Somalia and Ethiopia signed their truce to end the Ethio-Somali War.
Nice.
Good.
Yep. In 1986, the collapse of the Hotel New World. 33 people died when the Hotel New World in Singapore collapsed. Huh. That sucks. That reminds me of that one shopping mall that collapsed, or yeah, that big pink shopping mall, or it blew up or something. I don't remember.
That reminds me of the Hard Rock Hotel in New Orleans collapsing.
I vaguely remember something about that. So.
Did that happen in the earlier 2022 or a bit one, I think?
Was it? It wasn't because of Katrina. That's way too long.
No. Let me type this shit in.
Yeah, let me look this up too. You said
Hard Rock, or the Hard Rock Hotel.
Oh, in New Orleans.
Yep.
The Hard Rock Hotel collapsed 2 years ago on October 12, 2019, causing the deaths of 3 workers and injuring dozens more in one of the worst ever construction accidents. So it was they were building it.
Yep.
Huh. Moving on up to 1990, Mikhail Gorbachev was elected as the first president of the Soviet Union. Every time I see Gorbachev, I want to tear down the wall, and then Pink Floyd appears somehow. So.
Yep. Also in 1991, Cold War, the treaty on the final settlement with respect to Germany comes into effect, granting full sovereignty to the Federal Republic of Germany.
So essentially, they finally became their own nation once again. Ever since World War II, 50 years. You know, I think Germany might have learned their lesson. Who knows?
Nope.
No. Hell of a jump here from 91 to 2008. Stockpiles of obsolete ammunition exploded at an ex-military ammo depot in the village of Gerdek, Albania, killing 26 people. You know,
Don't seem like it was obsolete.
If it was obsolete, why is there ammo there? You know? Like... Or maybe it blew up because it was obsolete. They're not maintaining it properly or something. You know? And in 2011, the Syrian civil war began. I was just talking about Muammar Gaddafi the other day. I think, was he Syria or was he Libya? I forgot. Muammar Gaddafi. Libya.
Liberia.
He was Libya. Okay, so he wasn't Syria, he was Libya. What happened in 2019?
2019, approximately 1.4 million young people in 123 countries go on strike to protest climate change.
Yeah. Hey, liberals of the world, if you love the environment so much, go after China. Stop supporting them. They're the reason why, you know, climate change is happening. If climate change is real in your book, you know, like, we ban plastic straws, but you allow China, your overlords, to pump, like, thousands of tons of toxic waste into the ocean a day. Come on. These people just have nothing to stand on. Also in 2019, the beginning of the 2019 to 2020 Hong Kong protests. Oh, yeah, fight for Hong Kong. Yeah.
Yep, also in 2019, 52 people were killed in the Christchurch mosque shooting.
Dang. I thought it was 51.
Oh, yeah, 51 people are killed in the Christchurch mosque massacre.
That's awful.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah. Any articles intrigue you today?
Christchurch.
Of course. I was going to have to say the Hong Kong protests. That's interesting. As well as Germany finally becoming their own nation. Mikhail Gorbachev is interesting. And then like that Germany invading Czechoslovakia, like before World War II. That was interesting. So, moving on up on births and deaths. Why don't you start us off?
Sure. Oops, this. In 270, Saint Nicholas, Greek bishop and saint.
Moving on up about 1100 years, 1407, Jacob Margrave of Baden-Baden. What the heck is a Margrave or Baden-Baden? Let me look that up real quick. What? Okay, so he was a ruling Margrave of Baden-Baden in Germany and also chief commander of the Imperial Army. It's not telling me what it is, though. What is Margrave of Baden-Baden? Well, it's not telling me. It's just giving me information on people, so I guess we'll never know. Moving on up to 1584, we have Philip, Duke of Schleswig, Holstein, Sonderburg, Glucksenburg. Man, it's too bad Muffin's not here. Like I put in a lot of hard names just for him. In any dipped. Like a bitch.
Yeah.
Who was born today in 1591?
Also in 1591, Alexander D. Rhodes, British missionary and lexicographer.
A lexicographer is a person who compiles dictionaries. So
Okay.
he was a dictionary guy. Okay. In 1666, we have George Bahr, a German architect who designed the Dresden Frauenkirche. I can't pronounce these German words. What does this look like? Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Huh. Ooh, at night it looks really cool. In 1767, who was born then?
1767, Andrew Jackson, American general, judge, and politician who was the 7th president of the United States.
Yep. Isn't it Andrew Jackson who's on the 20 or the 10? No, 10 is Hamilton?
The 10.
Okay. 1809, we have Joseph Jenkins Roberts, an American Liberian historian and politician who was the first president of Liberia. So another case of somebody outside, a foreigner, being a president. Interesting.
Also 1813, John Snow, English physician and epidemiologist.
Yeah, it sounds like winter is coming, right? Jon Snow.
Yeah.
And an epidemiologist, they collect and analyze data to investigate health issues. For example, an epidemiologist might study demographic data to determine... Oh, well, I want the wiki. It's not going to give me the wiki. It sends me to biz.gov. So, well, they compile things. It's about as far as we got. Moving on up to 1821, we have William Milligan, a Scottish theologian, author, and educator. What is a theologian again? That slipped my mind. A theologian is a person who engages or is an expert in theology. Okay. And theology is religious. So, yep. You there, Lunk?
Yes.
Who was born today in 1835?
1835, Edward Strauss, Austrian composer and conductor.
Yep. Edward Eddie Strauss was an Austrian composer who, together with his brothers Johann Strauss II and Joseph Strauss, made up the Strauss musical dynasty. He was the son of Johann Strauss I and Maria Anna Streim. So, the name was familiar. I'm not sure why the name's familiar, but... Moving on up to 1857, we have Christian Michelsen, a Norwegian businessman and politician who was the first Prime Minister of Norway.
Okay. 1858, Liberty Hyde Bailey. American botanist and academic who co-founded the American Society for Horticultural Society. Science.
And horticulture, I believe, is the study of plants, but let me double check. Let's see here. Horticultural. Horticulture is the science and art of the development, sustainable production, marketing, and use of high-value, intensively cultivated food and ornamental plants. Interesting. I was right. Jumping on up to why can't I tab correctly? There we go. 1860, we have Waldemar Hafakin, a Russian-Swiss bacteriologist and microbiologist. I just thought that was a cool combo, so I added that in. 1866, we have Johan Vaaler, a Norwegian inventor often erroneously identified as the inventor of the paperclip. So then who invented the paperclip? Who invented the paperclip? Well, it says here Norwegian Johan Vaaler. So he's usually called the inventor of the paperclip. Norway had no patent office, so he filed an American patent for a set of square triangular clips. That was in 1901. Alright, so the inventor of the paperclip is a mystery. Who was born in 1869?
1869, Stanislaw Wojciechowski.
He was a Polish scholar and politician who was the second president of the Republic of Poland. In 1887, we have Marjorie Merriweather Post, an American businesswoman and philanthropist who founded General Foods. Did that evolve into General Mills? Let me look that up here real quick. General Foods Corporation was a company whose direct predecessor was established in the United States by Charles William Post as the Postum Cereal Company of 1895. So now it's, what looks like, well, I think they're a supplier, because here's Kraft Food, Quaker Oats, Kellogg's, Nabisco. So I think they're a supplier for these companies. So I'm going to add this into the underbar here. And all that's screaming in my head is GMOs, Monsanto, Bill Gates. Who was born today in 1900?
Gilberto Freire. Brazilian sociologist, anthropologist, historian, and writer.
Yep. 5 years later, we have Berthold Schlick Graf von Stauffenberg, a German lawyer and judge.
1909, we have Jaroslava Muchil Sylvia-Bova, Judge Paintner.
7 years after that, in 1960, Harry James was born. He was a U.S. trumpet player, band leader, and actor.
Okay, nice. Oh, yeah. Also, in 1918, Punch Omlak, Canadian ice hockey player, coach, and manager.
That's a real fitting name for a hockey player. Punch him lock.
Yep.
1933, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a U.S. lawyer and judge. Wasn't she on the Supreme Court?
She was. She was a Supreme Court judge, the one that looked like she was constantly falling asleep.
Alright. Here's a name that's also familiar. 1935, Judd Hirsch, a U.S. actor.
Okay.
Why is that name familiar?
What do you play?
He was in Taxi. He was in Independence Day. Who is this guy? Judd Hirsch. Independence Day. Was he the dad? He was, okay, so that's who Judge Hirsch is. Okay. Then, who else was born? 1935?
1935, Leonard Yellen Barrow.
And what was he?
He was Russian, Armenian clown and boxer.
That's an interesting combo. A boxing clown, Boxo the clown, honk honk, you know? Like every he has big old he has like clown shoe boxing gloves, and every time he hits somebody, it goes honk. It's like honk 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 honk. That'd be weird.
Yeah.
1943, we have David Cronenberg, a Canadian actor, director, and screenwriter. And that makes me wonder. Like, I remember the Cronenberg universe from Rick and Morty, and I wonder if this is the same guy. So,
Probably.
so let me check this out. David Cronenberg. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, he was involved in The Fly. You know
And
that?
also Nightbreed.
Yeah. So maybe he is like the Cronenberg thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's horrifying. Anyway, jumping up to 1943, we have Michael Scott Joint, an English bishop. It's a cool last name. Joint.
1954, Henry Mars, U.S. runner and businessman who co-founded Monavia.
1967, we have Naoko Taikavi, a Japanese manga artist who created Sailor Moon. And then, that's, it made me think, like, weren't they 16-year-olds, and, like, they're showing, like, on the anime, like, upskirt shots and everything, and I'm like, what is wrong with Japanese? It's like, oh, yeah, that's right, the age of consent in Japan is 13. How barbaric.
Also in 1975, will.i.am, U.S. rapper, producer, and actor.
His real name is William James Adams Jr., so will.i.am, so he just gangsterfied his name. Okay. 1982, we have Tom Budge, an Australian actor. So, I guess he does budge,
Also in 1983, Sean Biggerstaff, Scottish actor.
And if you play a mage or anything like that in a game, you always need a bigger staff, 1988, we have Alexander Sims, an English race car driver. And I had no idea that was a job in The Sims to be a race car driver, Moving on into deaths, in 44 BC, Julius Caesar, Roman general and statesman.
222, we have Cao, Chinese general, warlord, statesman.
493, we have Odoacer, the first king of Italy after the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Died today.
493, Odoacer, first king of Italy after the fall of the Western Roman Empire.
That sounds very familiar. Jumping on up to 990, we have Siegfried I, the Older, apparently a German nobleman.
1311, we have Thomas III de Arturo Maincourt, Lord of Salona, Marshal of Achaia.
Also in 1311, George I. Giese, Triarch of Euboea, Baron of Chalandristia, Lord of Tinos, Mykonos, Serphios, and Chios. That's bizarre. I've never seen so many like titles, on somebody like that.
Yep. We're on 1937?
1327.
1327, Albert of Schwarzburg, Grand Preceptor of the Knights Hospitaller.
The Order of the Knights of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, commonly known as the Knights Hospitaller, was a medieval and early modern Catholic military order. Definitely adding this into the underbar for future reading. Anybody is interested. 1848, we have Johann Jacob Nervbander, a Finnish poet, physicist, and meteorologist. I wonder if he ever got on anybody's nerves.
Yeah. Also in 1937, H.P. Lovecraft, U.S. short story writer, editor, and novelist.
That's a famous name.
Yep. Cthulhu.
Yep. 1951, John S. Paraskevopoulos, Greek African astronomer and academic.
Right.
Who else was? Who
Also,
else? Yeah.
also, 1962, Arthur Compton, U.S. physicist and academic, who founded the city of Compton.
Griffith Dickinson Compton founded the city of Compton in
Okay.
1867. Yeah. Compton is a city in Southern California located in South Los Angeles County. Compton was settled in 1867 by 30 pioneer families led by Griffith Dickinson Compton, after whom the city was named. The first black families came to the city just before World War II. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And there's a website here, blackpass.org. So, man, I don't know why, these certain communities are trying so hard to segregate themselves. So hard. You know? Like, whatever. Jumping on up to 1972, we have Alexander Ivanovich Lakitonov, a Russian painter and educator.
Okay. Also, 1992, Rahim Mansum Raza, Indian Urdu Court.
Urdu is an Indic language closely related to Hindi, but written in the Persian script and having many loan words from Persian and Arabic. It is the official language of Pakistan and is also widely used in India and elsewhere. Interesting. So it's a language. 1988, Benjamin Spock, a U.S. pediatrician and author.
No, it's not the one you think it is.
I know.
Also, 2001, Anne Saltern. U.S. actress and singer.
I wonder if she was born in the South. She was born in North Dakota, so that is not the South. So she's as north as you can get without going to Canada or Alaska, so, or Maine, I guess. 2 years later, 2003, Paul Stoyanovich died today. He was a U.S. television producer who created World's Wildest Police Videos. I remember those.
Damn. 2007, we have Charles Harrison.
What was he?
He was the American hitman and organized crime figure who was convicted of assassinating federal judge John H. Wood, Jr.
Yep. Who was the first federal judge to be assassinated in the 20th century. Charles Harrison was the father of actors Brett and Woody Harrelson. Whoa! Woody Harrelson.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson's dad murdered a judge. What the hell?
Now, looking at this picture, he looks like Woody.
Huh. Yeah, he does.
Just look at the picture.
Yeah, I see that. Well, I did not know that until today. 2008, Sharla Thakral, the first Indian female to get a pilot's license. Good on her.
Nice.
Flying
Also,
Indians.
2011, Smiley Culture, English singer and DJ.
We could certainly use more of that today, a smiley culture. You know? 2013, James Bonk, a U.S. chemist and academic. Reminds me of a scout from Team Fortress 2. Bonk. You know?
Yeah. Also, 2013, Shannon Larrett, Canadian publisher who founded BMZine.
Also in 2013, Masamichi Noro died today. He was a Japanese-French martial artist who founded Kinomishi. And I'm going to look that up real quick. What is Kinomishi? Kinomishi is a martial art in the tradition of Budo, developed from the Japanese art Aikido by Masamichi Noro and founded in Paris, France. That's weird. In 1979. So it's recent. Masamichi Noro was one of the live-in students of Morihei Ueshiba, the founder of Aikido. Well, that's really cool. That's blowing my mind. A martial art was invented in France by a Japanese. Like, what the hell? God, the world really is small, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
Also, 2013, Callum N.G. Reddy, Indian engineer and businessman who founded Dr. Reddy's Laboratories.
nice. And that concludes the show. Once again, check the underbar for any links you may be interested in, which also include
Shohin TV on Twitch.
and everything Omni Coalition. For your dose of Passive Events Daily, we stream every day now at 3 p.m. Pacific Time. Sorry for the time skip. I know we keep jumping around and everything, but, you know,
2 a.m.
a.m.
So 5, either 2 to 5 p.m. Central.
Yeah. There's no way in hell we're doing this show at 2 a.m. I'm asleep at that time. In either of our time zones. So, anyway, don't forget to look right and left at every intersection. Rate 5 thumbs and subscribe. Until then, I am Alexander.
Love.
And you'll see us tomorrow. Toodles!